Hey, thank you. Hello, welcome. Do you ever have that thing where you're about to go live and then you press go live and then your computer crashes? Yeah, that just happened to me. Yeah, but thank you to David there and N Fox and Charlie Nelson and John for hanging on for me there. I was actually talking to Drew Galdron, who does Faux Bojo. He's the fake Boris Johnson. He's a Boris Johnson impersonator that I watched the 2019 general election with here in Durham. And he wants to be on the show tonight. We just spent the last 40 minutes trying to get the tech together so he could actually appear with me, not in my house, but in like on the screen. But it wasn't to be, so we're going to try and we'll put it off, and hopefully we'll be able to do it tomorrow at Hughes Round at 1 o'clock. So big hi to everyone. Hi to Pete over there and Marza, sorry, Jeddah, and Moaz. Hello, Moaz. How you doing? And happy Christmas to everybody. I hope you had a good one. I hope you watched, if you got Disney Plus, I hope you watched the new Pixar movie, Soul. It is fantastic. It's really, really good. And I don't know what it is about Pixar movies, but they always make me cry. They always make me bloody cry. And it's one of the only two things in life that make me cry. There's Pixar movies and Brexit. And I guess we're going to have to talk about this. I was toying with the idea of doing a video on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or Boxing Day talking about this wafer-thin deal that I totally predicted would happen. And lo and behold, we have the wafer-thin deal. I thought that maybe there'll be an implementation period, but actually it's going to be called something like the ratification period, which runs from the 1st of January till the 28th of February, and that is the time that the European Parliament has to have a look over it and ratify it. Now, I don't understand why the UK Parliament can't have a similar length of time to look over the deal, but they're going to try and do it before Friday, which just seems nuts to me. But a lot of the things about Brexit seem nuts to me. And yeah, the deal is just as insubstantial as you might imagine. Our trading relations with the EU are now worse than the trading relations that Turkey have with the EU, because Turkey is part of the customs union. We won't be. And while certainly it's good news that we've got a deal, a tariff-free deal for goods, the problem is that only 20% of our GDP is goods. So even the stuff that is going out in goods, there's got to be tariffs, not like non-tariff charges or something they're called, but basically customs fees, getting someone to check over your parcels and decide, you know, what goes where, and decide if it's okay to bring in or not. So it's not a tariff, but you're still putting barriers up to trade. That's only 20% of our economy, though. The 80% of our economy, that is services, there's no agreement. There's nothing in this document about services. It just doesn't really cover them at all. It just goes. So basically, as far as I can understand, the EU is under no obligation to offer us any special deals when it comes to banking or finances or anything like that to the UK. And for that reason, I think it's why possibly $1.6 trillion has left the United Kingdom in assets. $1.6 trillion in assets has left to go to the EU. The EU. So it's gone now, and it's not coming back. And it's gone to Paris, it's gone to Frankfurt, it's gone to Dublin, and it's not coming back. So what we have now is a very thin trade deal with the EU that only covers really 20% of our trade with the EU. It doesn't really give us any it doesn't give us any advantages whatsoever over countries that are in the EU. So the lying liars who said that things will be as they were, if not better, and David Davis famously saying that we'll get a better deal than we had in the EU. That hasn't happened. The fishermen have been strung out to dry. And the hilarious thing is that the Brexiteers turned up and said, right, we want to change things in like 6 months or something to this new system where Britain is the only place where you are allowed to fish. So unless you've got a British passport, you can't take fish out of the water in water. God, telling Cockney there. You can't take fish out of the water around the UK unless you're from the UK. It's very important that only British people take things out of the sea around Britain. If people from other countries do that, that's really bad. So the EU said, can we make it 13 years? And they divided it down the middle somehow, almost. And I think it's 5.5 years. So things are going to continue as they are, as far as I'm aware, for 5.5 years before things change for the fishing people of the United Kingdom. In 5.5 years, Scotland is going to be an independent country. And most of our fishing waters are in fucking Scotland. Great. Good job. We got the fishing thing sorted. The other thing was something that I was discussing the other day, actually, where the EU had already offered this deal to Boris Johnson months ago. He could have just taken it back then and we would have time to look over it, but he wants to be a showman. He wants to, brinkmanship. But basically, he caved in on everything that the EU demanded. But one of the things that the EU offered was instead of signing up to EU regulations, we were free to do our own regulations, but only so long as we're willing to have tariffs slapped on our products that don't measure up to EU standards. So essentially, the EU Parliament is going to make laws, going to make rules about regulations, about products. And if we choose not to go along with those regulations, rules, laws, then we can still sell our stuff to Europe, but they'll slap a massive tariff on it going into another country. And that tariff will be collected by the EU. Great. So we're still going to be under EU rules forever. A bit like if, as I suggested the other day, we had this big battle, right? And it was between whether we should take the euro or not. And the people who said we shouldn't have the euro went, great, we won 52% of the vote. We won. We're not going to take the euro. We're not going to have it. And so what the government did goes, okay, we're going to keep the pound. We're going to keep the pound, but it's going to be worth €1. So we peg the pound to the euro. So when the euro goes up, the pound goes up. When the euro goes down, the pound goes down. We don't control our own interest rates or anything like that. It's not the Bank of England anymore. It's not their job to do that. And it's basically pounds in name only. So I'll say this is, in some ways, it's Brexit in name only, but not in the ways that I think that your average Brexiteer is going to notice. So it's kind of good in a way. It means that we get to keep high standards in what we do. We have to keep those high standards or we get tariffs slapped on us. But the bad side of it is the things that have changed make us cripplingly uncompetitive. Those barriers to trade and the complete, I don't know what they're going to do with services. the complete abandonment of the service sector in this deal, it just seems to be ignored. I don't know. I mean, EU tariff slappers. That's from Sugar Free. I like that. I'm just gonna have a quick run through the messages. Graham Hughes, turn your mic up. Oh dear, is my mic not micy enough? Hang on, let me fix that for you. Is that better? My big booming voice. I don't want it to get it distorted. If that sounds terrible, let me know. Or if it just sounds the same, let me know. Brexiteers are now shouting for the return of pounds and ounces. They never went away. They never went away. It's okay. Graham's shouting. I can hear him now. Oh, okay. David says, they're Muppets. I only do weight and height in cm and grams. Pete says, in 5 years, the UK will have a Labour government and the process of rejoining the EU will be well on its way. Yeah, that's the hope. That's the pray. Look at the camera, get a suit and tie, lying liars, tautology. Thanks, Sean. Hey Sean, can you help us organise a festival of Europe when they're doing the festival of Brexit, right? Let's do a festival of Europe. And all the bands that can't tour Europe now because of all the new regulations they've got to abide by, and they have to get a temporary working permit in every single country they go to. Great. Yeah, they could all play this gig instead, and we'll make loads and loads of money, and we'll spend it all on rejoining the EU. But yeah, I probably do need a suit and tie. No one listens to me. I probably need to sound more posh as well. If I sounded a lot more posh and wore a suit and tie, I could convince the Brexiteer of anything. I'd convince them to eat their own heads. I really would. Alex Morgan says, good evening, and hope everyone's had a good Christmas and staying safe. Well, yeah, I hope everyone had as good a Christmas as it was possible to have under the circumstances, which were not great. Just watched Charlie Brooker's 2020 wipe, which is called 2020 Death to 2020. So essentially, he's taken the production values of Black Mirror and he slapped it onto one of his famous reviews of the year, and it's very funny. Well worth watching. Well worth watching. Good to see you back. I've been so angry. Oh God, Alex, don't be angry. Just don't get angry. Get even. Jordan says the UK Westminster Parliament in 2022 will remove or merge the House of Commons. No reform for the House of Peers. Is this a joke? Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be major constitutional changes in the next few years because Scotland's going to leave the Union. Sorry. Ooh, I have a new weather app on my phone and it's just tweeted snow in 25 minutes. I live south of London. That's from Elizabeth. Yes, we had snow up here in Durham over on Christmas Eve. Enough to make a snowball or two, which was good. Hi everyone, says Phil. Hello, Phil. Stanley says better sound now. I've just knocked it up a little bit. After Christmas, measuring the waistline in yards. That's from Phil. Yeah, I know that feeling. Flippin' heck, Grayo channeling Bogus there. Is that Bogus Johnson? Welsh Government and the First Minister Drakeford says Johnson is an alien. Even May was better working relationship. And what exactly does Wales get out of this deal? Wales gets Wales gets not to have tariffs slapped on its cockles and mussels, mollusks that it sells that are taken from the shoreline, and also the lamb, which is huge for the Welsh economy. There won't be 40 to 50% tariffs slapped on lamb. However, the process of getting lamb to Europe is going to be more difficult because of a lack of vets in the slaughterhouses, because of the increase in paperwork. There's going to be a mountain of forms to fill out, and it's going to all just be a lot more difficult than it was before. But with the deal, one of the things that will happen now is people won't notice. It's the frog in the boiling water thing. As things get more expensive, people won't really remember the days when it only cost pennies to buy X, Y, and Z. They'll think, oh yeah, it was always £2.50 for a can of beans. So yeah, because it'd be incremental. Also, I don't know if anyone follows Jack. What's her name? Jack Thingy, the bootstrap chef on Twitter. She's the woman who sued that gobshite Katie Hopkins into oblivion. She has been keeping an eye on the price rises in the supermarkets over the last year or so, and the prices are already going up. And I think this is so after January the 1st, we don't have a cliff edge. We don't suddenly see the prices going up loads on January the 1st. It's been done incrementally. And one of the things they've also done is removed a lot of items in the value section or the basic section, the basics label or the value label, Tesco, Sainsbury's. A lot of, they used to do, say, 117 products. Now they're doing like 87. So they've removed some products. So you have to buy the more expensive beans. You have to buy the more expensive things. Products that are usually like 17p a tin have just disappeared off the shelves. Again, it's probably because things are going to get more expensive. Why are they going to get more expensive? We don't have tariffs. Why are they getting more expensive? Because of the paperwork. Because you've got to get a jobsmith. You've got to get someone... Jobsmith? Is that a bad word? You've got to get a bureaucrat in. You've got to get like a freight forwarder and a cargo handler and a customs officer declaration person. 50,000 more people doing customs than before. I mean, it's going to cost us all more. This is going to be the first generation in history in which British grandparents are richer than their grandchildren. Are they going to lead a more wealthy life? They've led a more wealthy life than what their grandchildren are going to lead. And if you say, well, hang on, those people will die eventually and they'll give all their money to the grandchildren. Well, yeah, they might, but that money won't be worth as much as it would had we not pulled out the EU. And that's another thing. The economy is still probably going to grow. It's just not as fast. And again, it's the slowly heating water thing. We're not going to notice it like we would with the no deal. No deal would be absolutely catastrophic across the board. And I knew it. Everyone watching this knew it. Boris Johnson bloody knew it, because although for all his bluster about, oh yeah, no deal is better than a bad deal, eventually he took the deal. He took the deal. He took everything that the EU offered as a way out of this absolute mess, and he's palmed it off as some great victory. It's just bizarre. It reminds me of Chemical Alley, you know, from when Iraq was being invaded in 2003, I think. And it was just bonkers, because you were like, well, what are they doing? Why are they invading? What's going on? And it was this attitude of this guy, what was his name? Comical Alley, that was it. And he was just like living in his own little dream world, which is what Donald Trump does as well, obviously. But yeah, this is what Boris Johnson does. We're the first country in history to negotiate a worse deal with our major trading partner, our main trading partner, to negotiate a worse deal with them than we used to have, and then fob it off as some kind of victory. We've got no say in the way that this organisation of 27 countries operates anymore. Yay. Attila says, I'm a Labour Party member, but I don't see any fight back from the party. Seriously thinking about resigning my membership and donating my money elsewhere. Yeah, Attila, I'm really not happy with the fact that Keir Starmer seems to want to back up the Tories on this. I would understand his plight if it didn't look like it would get through without Labour support, and if that was the case, no deal would be infinitely worse. So I would get that. But this is going to sail through. They're only going to have one day to scrutinise it, and most of the Tory MPs can't read. I mean, most of them couldn't find their fucking buttocks with both hands. They're thick as pig shit. So they're not going to read it. It's a 2,000-page document, but most of that's appendices. It's a bit like Lord of the Rings. But like in there is just the nuts and bolts of it all. They're not going to read that. They're not going to read that in a day. They're not reading it now. I mean, maybe one or two are, but most of them aren't. All their sort of reading ages is like Janet and John or Peppa Pig or the Sun newspaper. You know, it's that kind of reading level of sort of not very intelligent children. But yeah, they're just going to wave it through. So why do Labour need to back it? Why do Labour need to put their name to that bill as well? Why not say abstain or even vote against it, just to say this is a crap deal for Britain, and make that a real good point that this is a crap deal for Britain, and then they can continue saying it's a crap deal for Britain for the rest of time, because it is a crap deal for Britain. And earlier tonight, Ian Blackford, the SNP representative well, he's an MP, isn't he? But he's the representative of the SNP in the House of Commons. And he just said, look, Scotland's leaving. Scotland is leaving. And he made a good point about this whole, it's a once-in-a-generation referendum. And, well, actually, that was never put in law. And it might have been a slogan during the referendum campaign, but so was £350 million for the NHS. So was Sunlit Uplands. So was We Hold All the Cards. So was they need us more than we need them. So was the German automobile industry will come and save the day. And a list of bullshit as long as the bloody Channel Tunnel. But yeah, I mean, there was nothing in law about it being once in a lifetime. And in the Good Friday Agreement, apparently the border poll, that will probably be triggered pretty soon, because I think even the unionists are getting pissed off with, well, they're staying in the customs union and the single market, and now there's going to be a border in the Irish Sea. So the unionists aren't happy. I mean, I'm sure the people who want to be part of the Republic of Ireland are made up. They're like, yeah, this is great. We got the best of both worlds. Whereas those dickheads, Arlene Foster and her dup mates, they're spitting feathers at the moment because they feel like they've been betrayed. What did you expect? What? How stupid are they? I mean, you've got to be like an extra level of thick, haven't you, to think, oh yeah, these Tories, they've definitely got our best interests at heart. But yeah, that's what they thought. But yeah, Scotland, in the Good Friday Agreement, it says that the border poll can be done every 7 years. Every 7 years. So it's going to be 7 years since the last Scottish referendum, and next year. That's all I'm saying. Thor says, okay, but if now is not the time to put up a fight, when will the time come? No, I'm saying now. Get over to rejoineu.uk. I'm gonna put it in here along with my Patreon stuff. There you go. rejoineu.uk. I'm gonna be spearheading this because no one else seems to be. There's a few people who are trying to get something off the ground with Rejoin, but there's been no momentum so far. So we're going to try and get that off the ground and make it an actual thing. Do things very differently to how the Remain campaign was fought. First of all, we're not going to ignore the grassroots, like what the People's Vote did. We're not going to be run by privately educated people, anonymous people in a tower in London. That's not going to happen. And we're going to have weekly Zoom meetings with all the people from all the different Remain groups around the country, all the different pro-EU groups around the country that want to get involved in the Rejoin campaign. We've got to do this. And we've got to think outside the box in how we fight this. We can't just keep doing Brexitometers and petitions. We've got to think, how do we fight against 63% of the media, which is owned by 3 billionaires, all of whom hate Europe for different reasons? How do we fight against Murdoch's new news channel, which is going to launch in a few days' time? How do we fight against the might of the Mail Online, which is the most read news site in the world? What can we do to disrupt and cut off, not necessarily cut off, but disrupt that chain of communication, or get in there and make sure that we're getting our stuff to the people who need to see it? Because we don't need to see it. We know that rejoining the EU is a really good idea. We know that we should never have left. We're not the ones who need convincing. But I don't think that we should rejoin the EU until there's a super majority to do so. I don't want another referendum where it's a 52% majority one way or the other. I want this country as a whole, pretty much, to look at the situation and go, we were better off when we were in the EU. And for people to know that. Now, the newspapers ain't going to report that. The newspapers haven't really reported the fact that £1.6 trillion of assets have been stripped from the nation. The newspapers have barely mentioned the fact that £19 billion was given to one of the the wife of a Tory MP for a track and trace system that didn't fucking work. That didn't read about that in the Express. Did you? I don't know. I don't read the Express. Yes, no one to represent me. Elizabeth, I will represent you. It's just going to be Rejoin. It's not going to be a Lib Dem Rejoin or a Labour Rejoin or Green or whatever. It's just going to be Rejoin the EU. That's it. That's it. And it's not going to be like, oh, but we want to rejoin, but do this, and we want to do that, and we want to be part of the single market, and we want to be part. No, just rejoin. That's it. That's simple. Everyone can get on board. Three-word slogan will be rejoin, rejoin, rejoin. There you go. Simple three-word slogan that everyone can understand. Oh, also, while I'm here and you're there, on the website, on the Rejoin EU website, I've had a really good suggestion that someone sent to me saying maybe, as we probably won't be able to do a march in March because of COVID, we could do a procession of cars. And if we could do that, we can organise that. We could do it in multiple cities at once. So if we get a line of 40, 50 cars, it's not that many. But if we've all got our EU flags out the window and it's like rejoin, it'll still let people know we're still here. Because what Boris Johnson wants to do is he wants us to shut up and go away. Or as Gavin Williamson likes to say, shut up and go away. And we're not going to. In fact, we're going to get louder and louder until we rejoin the EU. So they're sitting back thinking, easy life now. Brexit's done. Everything's at peace. We're going to come back together as a nation and all be happy and hug it out. Fuck that. I want to rejoin the EU. And I know that millions of other people also want to rejoin the EU. And when you lose something in politics, you don't just shut up and go away. That's a war. Okay, that's different to politics. If you lose an election, you don't pack up your political party and go, oh, well, we lost the general election. Let's find something else to do with our lives. No, you keep fighting. And if the Eurosceptics had just shut up and gone away in 1975 when we had the first EU referendum, or the EEC referendum, as it was back in the day, if they had stopped whining about it, we wouldn't have had another referendum 40 years later, but we did. So there you go. I don't think that the EU will let the UK in the club again. Yeah, Johan, that's a good point about it. I don't want to sound arrogant like, we're definitely going to do this because the EU are just going to beg for us back. It's not. And I think that there's going to have to be a bit of a period of self-reflection here. I think Britain's going to have to prove, or England, or Wangland, as it's probably going to be in a few years' time, is going to have to show that it's learnt its lesson, most definitely, and make a lot of amends. I haven't mentioned Erasmus, have I? I was going to mention that. When we talk about the liar Johnson, the scumbag talking haystack, Boris Johnson, this cross between Billy Bunter and a fucking Dalek. And he says, we're not going to leave Erasmus. We're not going to leave Erasmus. That's what he fucking said out of his face. Words that came out of his face. And he says, no, we're not going to do that. I'm like, what? So we are then? Yeah, I was lying about that. Oh, were you lying about the £350 million for the NHS that you wrote on the side of a fucking bus and then drove around the country in? Yeah, I was lying about that as well. Okay, what about the single market and the customs union? Yeah, lying about that. Okay, think about things being better off. Yeah, lying about that. Nothing, literally nothing is going to be better now. There are no benefits from what we're doing whatsoever. In fact, everything is just a bit of a shitter, really. Yay! Let's fist bump, picture, embarrassing, Prime Minister. It's like you meet someone who's like a stuffed scarecrow with bits of straw coming out of his head, sitting on a dry stone wall somewhere, chuckling to himself, with a big flagon of cider, and you go up to him and you go, bloody hell, this guy will make a great Prime Minister. I'd love this guy to represent our country to the world. Jesus wept. Anyway, where are we now? John Judge, yep. Hope nobody was bothered by the storm. Yes, we had a storm yesterday. Storm Bella hit the UK. We had, what was it? 1,600 people evacuated from the banks of the River Ouse. Yeah, it's and as predicted by climate scientists who said the weather's going to become more extreme, it's getting more extreme. Brexiteers spinning Erasmus as rich kids lolling around doing nothing. Brexiters don't like the educated. They're a bit like Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge in that way. There was a point in the 1970s in which they basically killed all of the teachers and professors and anyone who worked in a university or a school. And they moved on to killing anyone who wore glasses because they thought they were part of the intelligentsia or whatever they called them. They wanted everyone to be a peasant who worked in the fields or, I don't know, caught fish. Sound familiar? There's... maybe we should have a look at the way we address people who are mad Brexiteers or Brexiters, because they're not really... That's not really what it's all about, is it? It's about this fear that they have of the 21st century. And they're like King Canute, sitting on the beach, trying to push away the tide, trying to command away the tide, and the tide is time. Things change. We can't go back to this halcyon ether hallucination of what the 1950s were in this country, or the 60s, or the 70s. Not that we'd want to, Because anyone who studied those periods, no, they were actually a bit shit for most people. They were all right for the 1%. It's always all right for the 1%. It's all right for Nigel Farage's bastard children who, they get to have German passports, don't they? Sorry, I don't mean to call them bastards. It's not their fault. Let's just call them Nigel Farage's adorable jam-faced crotch nuggets. They've got EU passports, your kids don't. How is that fair? He's a millionaire. He went to a private school. He's a city banker, career politician. And people are saying, he should get a knighthood. He should get a knighthood for what he's done for this country. What, leading it up the garden path, telling you that what's all right for his kids, right, isn't all right for your kids. He's going to take those rights away. The rights to live and work and retire and study and do all this stuff in all these other countries. He's going to take that away from them. But he's not going to take it away from his kids. Because, solidarity, Reg. He actually wanted to show he could not move the sea. Yes, sorry. I know that. I should have put that in, shouldn't I? Damn. Hate it when I get caught out. It's like when I call it the Union Jack and someone says, it's not the Union Jack unless it's flown from a jack staff, Graham. I'm like, yes, I know. Yes, King Canute was proving that he couldn't command the sea. But yeah, the idea of someone sitting on a beach and trying to command the waves is a good analogy to use for Brexit, because this is it's a bit that the England football team, which is a pretty decent team, and got Sorry, I'm just fixing things. I've just restarted, so hopefully you can still see me. So let me get the chat up. See people saying, I can see Graham again. Yippee, yippee, yay, hooray. Right, waiting for new messages. If someone wants to go and find my new streaming thing, here we are, back in the house, back. Should make that a bit smaller, make it a bit bigger, make it a bit smaller. There we go. Excellent, you're back. Ha. There you go. You see, we had the tools, we had the talent. Also beer, which helped. I just poured beer all over my keyboard and it just worked again. What do you see as the main problem? It looks to me like every government, and at least Maggie, has let the people down. Yes, I would agree with that, Michael. I think that Tony Blair, he was not the Labour leader that we possibly should have had. And I mean, you've got to give him some credit for the stuff that he did get through, which was good. But it always felt like he I don't know, he didn't come across to me as a person who was all there. That sounds really bad, but he seemed to be on another planet. Not very personable. I guess people talked about personality politics when he got into power, but I didn't see much of a difference between him and David Cameron. They both seem like these very well-groomed, well put together, polished politicians, and it's a bit much. That thing of the way Thatcher spoke. Anyone who's been watching The Crown with Gillian Anderson and playing Margaret Thatcher, the way Margaret Thatcher spoke was completely put on. She didn't really speak like that. She went to like speech coaches who taught her how to speak in this really weird way. And I think Tony Blair was given some kind of coaching where he would put in these bizarre pauses in what he was saying while also chopping an invisible sausage with both hands. And he was, I don't know, not my kind of politician, I guess. And then Gordon Brown was even worse. Gordon Brown just made me feel sad. Every time I came on the screen, I was like, oh, not Gordon Brown. Oh, God, no, here he is. Oh, who's died? Oh, God, what's happened? I bet it's awful. He was so dour and just, oh, well, and that wasn't great. And then obviously Cameron was awful. And then Maybot was even worse. And now we've got this absolute clown in number 10. And you put a clown in charge, you get a circus, as somebody said in the comments the other day. Tony Blair will be forever remembered for Iraq. Yeah, and I was trying to think of other things that he did that I seriously disagreed with, bringing in tuition fees. I thought that was a stupid thing to do. I also didn't like the fact that he came across as, while not a Eurosceptic, perhaps, he was never really the full-throated support of the EU. I never really saw that. Maybe he was, but he didn't seem to make a big point about getting across to people what the EU means and what it's done for people and how it's transformed places like Liverpool with the Objective 1 funding that we got. Some more messages. Gordon Brown was treated abominably by Blair. Yeah. Join the club with Gordon Brown and Iraq. That's as in everyone in Iraq. Phil says Tony was at least extremely pro-EU. Was he? Was he, though? The obvious PFI, Iraq, and NHS Iraq war were abominations. Failure to get PR through was equally big oversight in his era. How can we get Labour that compatible with a win, though? No. I mean, I think that Keir Starmer's doing a good job of blowing it at the moment for Labour because although we are desperate for someone who's just not Boris Johnson, someone with a bit of charisma would be not a bad thing right now, I don't feel. And the bizarre personality cult of, how far have I got? 49 minutes. Okay, the bizarre personality cult of Jeremy Corbyn, which I never got, but it still existed. Whereas Keir Starmer, he hasn't got one of those. But that's not a bad thing under normal circumstances. But he's up against a real tough opponent here with Boris Johnson, because Boris Johnson is the world's most accomplished liar. He's absolutely brilliant at lying. It's his one talent. He is an effortless liar. He says 2 words and 3 of them are lies. It's quite remarkable that he could do this. But yeah, same as Trump. Yeah. The last good PM was John Major. No. I don't know when our last bloody good PM was. They've all been pretty crap, to be honest with you. In my lifetime anyway. Going back, Clement Attlee, great guy, Clement Attlee brought in the NHS. What a top bloke, eh? Also, the UK, nuclear weapons program was Clement Attlee. So, his copybook wasn't entirely without blots. Trident, I guess, is his legacy. That's 120 billion pounds well spent. Do you think Labour should vote yes if ERG are voting yes as well? No. If the ERG are voting for it, there's no reason for Labour to vote for it, much less have a whip. I mean, just have a free vote then if you want to go down that route. I'd rather they voted against it and made a big speech. Well, it's still up to me. A big speech and said, this deal is rubbish. And here are all the reasons why it's rubbish. And that could be televised to the country and everyone could look at it and go, oh yeah, he's got a few good points there. But he doesn't look like he's going to do that, unfortunately. Graham Hughes for PM. What? You want to send me a private message? Oh, you mean Prime Minister? No, absolutely not. That would be a very, very, very bad idea because I'm a gobby scouser. I like to swear a lot and I fuck a lot of people off. So, although that doesn't seem to be too much of a problem for being a politician. But in order to get to the position of getting anywhere in politics, you have to be, in this country, in England, you either have to be born rich and have gone to a posh private school, so you know the right people, or a huge bumlicker. And I'm neither. So, yeah, politics ain't the job for me. I'd rather be an activist because then I can just be focused on one thing. I would like it to be the environment, but it's going to be rejoining the EU for now. Stephen says, he was, mate. Watch the clip at 5-ish where he rips Farage apart in Brussels. Oh, okay. I'll have a look at that, about how great the EU is. With this sort of stuff reported more in the media. Okay, I'll take that, Stephen, because I didn't know, and maybe one of the reasons was it wasn't reported as well in the media. At least Major didn't go to private school. Very good point, John. Well, neither did May, did she? Did May go to private school? And Thatcher didn't go to private school either. What kind of leader Starmer does not show real opposition now? Is he waiting for the right moment? Maybe he's playing the long game, because that worked out so well for his predecessor. He's playing the long game, you know. It's the long game, Graham. You can't criticise what he's doing. He's playing the long game. Yeah, I heard that a lot over the last few years. It was very irritating. Jim Hacker, funniest show. Yeah, we're talking about... yes, Minister. That can be laid firmly at the door of a Thatcher who declared there is no such thing as society. Yeah. But what she did create is the service industry, didn't she? I mean, we turned into from a sort of manufacturing based in. I'm going to put these away because they keep hitting the table. Hope it doesn't look too daft. We turned away from being a manufacturing country towards services, where we could successfully undercut places like China. Which were, well, China was on its arse in the 1980s, so probably Taiwan, maybe, let's say Taiwan. Remember in the 80s when things were made in Taiwan, you turn them over and say made in Taiwan. Evening. Tom Monk, we have had leaders in Sweden as well, not happy, not anyone insane yet. Yeah, you've had bad leaders in Sweden, yeah, I know, with the way that Sweden was held up as some kind of thing by the headbangers, the right-wingers, the Nazis of our glorious nation, as some kind of great, example, an exemplar of how we should deal with COVID. But obviously, with the death rate being a magnitude higher than that of its closest neighbours, Finland and Norway and Denmark, it's not shown itself in the best light. Let's put it that way. Just pretend you favour Brexit, Graham. Someone already did that. Yeah, true. A major problem for the UK is lack of political talent coming through. Think of the quality of politician in the Brown-Blair cabinet. Yeah, but Stanley, they won't let us in. And I'm saying us, I don't mean like me and my mates. I mean people who are not born politicians. And they'll look down at you and say, oh, you've got ideas above your station. You've got ideas above your station. And all the big political parties are stuck in like the 19th century. It's kind of embarrassing. They're obsessed with all this kind of like the way things used to be and the fundamentals of the party and all this. And I think they're stuck in a box, and they find it very, very difficult to think out of the box and think of something a bit different. And the weird thing is that at the moment, the Conservatives are actually better in a horrible way of thinking of a different way of doing things, as was evidenced by the campaign that they ran in for the referendum. I mean, for Brexit, that there is an argument that maybe they wanted Brexit. How do we get it? Well, we get an MP, we get a PM to say, oh, well, I want to stay in the EU, but make sure that he's really smug and unpopular, so David Cameron. And making like the representation of the Etonian elite versus the representation of the Etonian elite that is Boris Johnson, except we'll make him a bit more likeable, I guess, and a bit more affable than David Cameron, who was just a fucking robot. And maybe that was the plan all along. Maybe we'll get Cameron in. We'll get him to say that he wants this thing, a referendum, to stop this question of what we're going to do about Europe once and for all. And actually, we'll stab him in the back. We'll campaign. Gove and Johnson will campaign to leave the EU. We'll win that. We'll get him out of power. We'll take power ourselves. And we will make lots and lots and lots of money, because that's all they care about. Money for them, money for their mates. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. As we have seen with the great Tory bonanza giveaway of taxpayers' money to all of their fucking mates. Lovely. What is it, 26 billion now, is it? What are we up to? 19 billion went on track and trace, I know that, which didn't work. It might have been bubbling along under the surface. I don't remember homeless people openly on the streets of London until Thatcher. That's probably true. There's a way of getting rid of homeless people. Did you know this? You give them homes. It's really simple. It's actually cheaper than leaving them on the streets. Statistically, it's cheaper because the rent for a flat for a year is only a few grand, whereas the cost of their 5 trips to either a police station or a hospital on average per year is a lot more than a few grand. So, social housing in the... sorry, it's Michael Spicer. What? It's not. It's me. It's Graham. Although I did get my lovely girlfriend, I did get her the Michael Spicer book for Christmas. She was like, oh, thanks. No, I'm not going to say that. Because of our constitution, they did what they can except declare war status. Yeah. I hate that. The constitution said the constitution in Sweden is that they can't do emergency powers unless they're at war or something. It's quite interesting. Yeah, stuck in history, but Bogus is smashing it up right now. Yeah. Hi, Sugar Free. Hugh Grant for PM. Yes, actually, Hugh Grant's in Death to 2020, which is good. I was gonna tweet about Death to 2020 and say how good it was, but I thought better of it because I thought if I wrote Death to 2020, then I might get killed by killer like robot bees. It's all set in the same universe. Part of the loss of communal thinking came from the destruction of the manufacturing base of the country. That's very true. Want to have yes, Maximilian Robespierre wants to have a stream with me. Yes, I want to do that. Get him to contact me. Get him to give me a call. Maybe on Twitter, if he sends me a message on Twitter or something. I don't know. I'll have to go over there and leave him a note. I keep forgetting. Above the station, you guys need a French Revolution or what happened in Germany in Austria after World War II. Need to get rid of Eton guys. Yeah, Michael, we do need to get rid of the Eton people. But the problem is, we complain about the fact that everything in this fucking country is run by privately educated people. And people who aren't privately educated, but might have aspirations to send their adorable jam-faced crotch nuggets to a private institution to, I don't know, be molested, turn into psychos and sociopaths and fucking lunatics. I don't know why people send their kids to private school. Statistically, your kid's going to end up fucked up. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. I mean, they'll be rich, but they'll be fucked up. I don't think they'll be happy. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong. I probably am wrong. But the point is, you start slagging off private schools and people jump down your throat and say, oh, well, the parents just want the best for their kids. And I'm like, but they opt out of the social school system. And by opting out of the social school system, they have no interest, no stake in making sure that education for people who aren't born Mr. and Mrs. Lord or Lady Moneybags is decent. And so how do we expect to progress? And we have a situation in which 2/3 of the cabinet of this country, most Tory MPs, most people leading parties, including the Greens, including the Lib Dems, were privately educated. The leader of the Church of England is privately educated. The royal family are all privately educated. The chief of police of the Metropolitan Police is privately educated. There's only 16 or 17 fucking DJs or hosts on LBC. 11 of them went to private school. What are we supposed to do? Not notice this, not mention it, not go, hang on, this isn't right. They're supposed to be 7% of the population. Why are they 99% of the power? But yeah, it's the same thing where I go, over 50% of people who are over the age of 50 voted to leave. Oh, you can't say that, you're ageist. And I'm like, it's just a fact. I'm not saying that everyone, I didn't vote to leave. I didn't vote for leave, neither did my wife. I'm Brian, and so is my wife. I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying there's a problem when the vast majority of young people voted to remain, and the vast majority of older people voted to leave. There's definitely a gap there. Yeah, but look at the education gap. Yeah, that doesn't matter. I can talk about that later, or I'll talk about that now if you like. But the fact is, you can't ignore this huge change in the way that people vote. And it's new. I know people think that they get more conservative as they get older, and a lot of people do, but not everyone does. A lot of people for many years just voted the way their parents voted because, and I know it's going to be devastating to all the politics nerds like myself out there, because it's a harsh lesson to learn, not everyone gives a fuck about politics. In fact, it's probably the minority of people in this country who actually give a fuck about politics. Most people don't think about it. They don't think about it. It's a bit like me and Mrs. Brown's Boys. Never seen it, Don't think about it. Not part of my life. Gavin and Stacey, never seen it. Not part of my life. I know it exists. I just don't care. I couldn't tell you anything about it, except it's got that really annoying fat bloke in, who I don't like. So that's why I don't watch it. But yeah, that's the way most people look at politics in this country. Actually, all over the world. It's not like a huge issue for them. And for the people that it is a huge issue for, it just colours everything. And it becomes a bit all-encompassing and a bit overwhelming, to be honest with you. But my point is that I don't think that we are going to move forward as a society unless we dig out the rot at the heart of this society. And I say that when you have a system in which the rich children, the richest children of the nation, go on to lead the nation every fucking time, we've got to do something about it. This is 2020. It's about to be 2021. Not the 19th century. The Victorian era is over. I don't want people in top hats and tails running the country. All right? Rant over. Oh, God, I'm 3 minutes over, but I robbed you of 3 minutes because I was late getting on here. Wear your hat, please. It's upstairs. I'll go get it. I'll wear it tomorrow. Just why people vote for idiots in the UK. Guess why video recordings in parliaments can't be used for jokes. Yes, it's very true. There was a crazy rule that they brought in. Reconnection successful. Yeah, maybe you can hear me, but I can't see the chat. And it's time for me to go anyway. Let's get the chat back up, please. Hooray! This chat is waiting for new messages. Oh, right, has it started a new chat? Sorry, I lost connection again. Oh, God, technology. Oh, we're back. Hello. Anyone else stuck on a loop? Was it just me going, Hello, you boss. Graham, read back your chat. Everyone has been trying to shout to you at you. Yes, I know. I realised I got off. Humax has been here the entire time. Back. Crazy rule they just brought in. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm just going to leave my URLs, which I've just put onto the chat there. That's if you want to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. That would really help me out because YouTube sends loads of notifications out to people, which I've stopped it doing now. It made a lot of people unsubscribe from my channel. Or maybe they just hated what I was putting out. I don't know. But yeah, I could do with a few more subscribers. If people want to subscribe, it's up to you. It doesn't cost you anything. Support is my Patreon account. So if anyone wants to just throw a few pounds a month my way to help pay for technology so it doesn't fail all the time. Tech. I'm going to do a Basil Fawlty one of these days and just get like a twig and start hitting hitting the laptop with it. I reckon your can of lager boosts your internet. I think it does well. I love the way it's like invisible. Look, you can see right through my body. You missed the Maximilian request for a joint stream. Damn it! We need to do that. As an Austrian, I feel like this is everywhere, elites and such, but in the UK, it's much more extreme. Again, because the system never had a shock like World War I or World War II or French Revolution. Yeah, Michael, I agree. I think it's way more extreme in the UK than anywhere else on the planet. Except maybe India, with the caste system, which was supposed to be outlawed years ago. Like, fucking 100 years ago, the caste system was supposed to be gotten rid of. Famously, Gandhi spoke out against the caste system, but it's still there. It's still there, lurking behind the scenes of everything. And until it's not, it's going to be hard for India to really move on, especially with a dickhead like Modi in charge of the nation at the moment. Graham, read back the post. I can't. It only goes back that far. You can see how far I can go back. Sorry. Remove the charitable status as a first step. That's from Darian. Yes, absolutely. They're not charities. How can we have a charity in which nearly all of the boys and girls who go to the school are the boys and girls of the richest people in the world? And as a charitable thing, I just want to mention this because I posted this on Twitter earlier, but I think it's a good point to make that sometimes gets lost in this whole thing about trade around the world. And it's one of my pet topics, isn't it? Because I've traveled so much. I just like to sort of point out the reality of the world. And the sad reality is that most of the countries that we are going to get these new trade deals with are countries that we currently give overseas aid to. Okay, so we're going to give them aid. We're also going to try and trade with them. I'm thinking that is a bit like having a charity shop, and the only people who you want buying things from your charity shop are the people who need the charity. And it's like, I don't think that's a good model for a business. Also, the fact that the EU, people from the EU buy more stuff off us than we buy more stuff off people in the EU than we sell to them. And they're like, that's not a good business model either. Set up a shop. Buy things. Don't sell anything. Just buy things. See how long your business lasts. Obviously. The EU are cutting tax havens. Yeah, that's true. So what about Trump going golfing? He didn't sign a stimulus agreement. Yeah, Kevin. Maybe I'll talk about that in Hughes Round tomorrow. Trump won't sign this massive stimulus agreement to try and get America back on its feet because he lost the election, and his attitude is kind of like, well, I lost the election, so everyone can die. Literally everybody can just die. I don't care. And yet 70 million people in America still think he's boss. These folks on YouTube, give a thumbs up. Okay. Oh dear, our private schools are charitable. Oh dear Lord, that's from Michael. Yes, they are tax exempt. They make millions of pounds a year, invest those millions in arms companies, and it's tax-free. You know how you felt when you found out that Scientology was tax-free in America because it's classed as a religion, even though it's an illegal cult in Germany because it's a cult? Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. It's like, how do they not have to pay tax when you and I have to? How is it that when Dominic Cummings doesn't want to pay tax on his illegally built home in Extra House on his estate here in Durham, he's all right, but then there's a woman who owes $4,000 for council tax. She can't afford it, and she's thrown in jail. She's Welsh, you see. She's not Dominic Cummings. She wasn't born into wealth. Didn't go to a private school. So, one rule for her, another for everybody else. Perhaps a mass rejoin stream. Glastworthy, Max Galsworthy, Max, Phil, and Graham. Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be good. I've spoken to Mike about kicking off the rejoin movement and how it's all going to work and stuff. I've also spoken to Richard Wilson, not from One Foot in the Grave, but the leader of Grassroots for Europe. And hopefully we're all going to work together on rejoining, on what we're going to do to rejoin. So in the next few days, I'm working currently on a proclamation. That's a bad word for it. Like a mission statement. And it's going to be listing all the things that Remain did wrong and trying to make sure that Rejoin doesn't make the same mistakes. I mean, the first one was obviously the people's vote. Nobody knew who they were. And they took all this money and we don't know what they did with it. So obviously that's number one thing is like transparency and communication, please. That would be great. Let's just start from there and then everything else will flow. But if I can talk to you watching this, if you want to join me in Hughes Round this week, we'll do a little bit of a discussion on Rejoin, and I'd love to hear your opinions on what you think went wrong with the Remain movement, something that I might not have picked up on or might have missed, and also what you would like to see out of a national Rejoin movement, which we sorely need. Right, I have gone 12 minutes over my time, and I really should go to bed at some point. Not that stops me working. I've got a shit ton of work to do. I need to automate. I did this stupid thing where I went, I'll send a tweet out to all these politicians, basically saying some money's been donated. But I found very quickly that Twitter's onto this and goes, you've sent essentially the same tweet over and over again. We're going to suspend your account. So to get around that, I've literally got to type them all in myself. So I've got a night ahead of me, but it's all worth it. It's all worth it. If you want to know what went with wrong with Remain, you definitely need to get in touch. That's from Paul Thomas. Yeah, Paul. Well, let's have a chat about it in the week. So I do Hughes Round. If you haven't seen it, it's at 1 p.m. On weekdays, and it should be every day this week. It might get a little bit disrupted halfway through the week. I'm not sure, but I'll definitely be doing it tomorrow. So there'll definitely be a Hughes Round tomorrow at 1 o'clock. What? But he's missing our call out. What? The call out for what? I missed that. At least we got an extra few minutes. Freedom of movement back in circa 7 years when UK is back in the EU. Yeah. Don't waste energy now. Keep it later to rejoin. Eton Oxbridge should be demolished. Well, yeah. Or turned into something a bit more useful for the nation. I don't know, like a big poker stop. So that's it for tonight. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for supporting all this stuff that I do, this madness. I'm going to just keep going until we rejoin the EU and then possibly find something else to do with my life. But this is it now. I'm 100% in. We need to rejoin the EU. I want my rights back. I want the children of this country to have their rights back. I'm sick of the people dominating the media, dominating the airwaves, dominating the agenda and the national conversation, being this select group of toffs who get to tell everybody else what to do. And I think that their time it's got to end. It's got to be over. And I think Scotland leaving the Union might be the firework that the blue touch paper that sets this whole thing off. And the next few years, they're going to not be easy, but I don't think they're going to be boring. Oh, I miss boring. Do you miss boring? I miss boring. We'll go back there at some point. Anyway, Paul's shouting, I want my roaming charges! Yes, I want £750 phone bills when I get home off my jollies. The toffs ruined Britain. I couldn't agree more, Steve. Okay, I'm going to leave you. So thank you very much for joining me, as I said. And Hughes Round tomorrow, 1 p.m. on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook, and on Mixcloud, if you just want to listen to the audio. Until then, we might have Drew Galdron, if technology allowing. But until then, I will say hello, good evening, welcome.